too, because it looks so painful. This is like one of the worst celebrity burns I think I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of really bad sunburns on other people and on myself, which I'm actually going to share and admit to what has happened to me and why I have a skin cancer scare. But outside of my skin mistakes and my issues, poor Brittney, like this has to be one of the worst sunburns that I have ever seen on I don't even have words. This is probably the worst celebrity skincare sunburn I've ever seen on social media. And outside of experiences where someone actually comes into a hospital or into a derm clinic, I haven't seen anything this bad. And again, this is not a diagnosis because I do not diagnose, but this looks like a second-degree burn. And I remember Kim Kardashian once fell asleep with her sunglasses on. That looked pretty bad too. But oh my God, I feel the literal pain. My skin is crawling just looking at poor Brittney. It looks like she's out having fun in the sun, but the same thing happened to me when I was closer to the equator. Didn't realize that the sun's rays were hitting me at a different angle, and boy, did something terrible happen to me. Seeing as Brittney is someone that I grew up trying to listen to because my parents wouldn't let me, but I would sneak her CD and I would like dance to it in front of a mirror that we had in the entryway, I absolutely love her, which is why I'm going to share some of my favorite sunscreen recommendations that I would recommend to prevent this from ever happening. We're going to speak about the science of sunburns, and then we're going to speak about why some people burn and peel, and why some people just tan. And to understand these things, we have to start with the sun. This big, beautiful star that makes life on Earth in the Goldilocks zone possible, and literally shoots rays of light, a form of energy, into the planet so that we can grow crops that photosynthesize, that animals and then humans can then consume and thrive off of. But unfortunately, the sun does create many different types of UV rays. These ultraviolet rays can't be seen by our eyes. They're in the electromagnetic spectrum, but visible light is a very small amount of that. Infrared is what we feel as heat, but the UV rays are the ones that do the damage. There are different types of UV rays, such as UVA, UVB, and UVC, and a lot of people don't realize that UVC is the most dangerous. But the good news is that we have a motherfucking atmosphere, as long as we don't destroy it, and the atmosphere protects us from those UVC rays. So we don't really have to worry about them unless you're a welder, because if you're a welder, well, that's why you wear the helmet, because then you do. The UVA, you can think of UV aging, and the UVB, you can think of UV burning. And unfortunately, for someone who's got a sunburn, specifically one this bad that looks like it is blistering, you are probably being exposed to and damaged by both. Now, when those UV rays hit the skin, what actually happens? Well, fun fact, some good things, such as starting the process of vitamin D synthesis, which actually involves cholesterol and your body and your kidneys, or just your one kidney if you're me and you only have one. But outside of vitamin D production, those UV rays can cause a lot of damage, specifically damaging the DNA that is in our skin cells. We know that the sun causes cancer, and that's why when I look at Brittney having a great time, but knowing that this is not her only sunburn, she's gone through so many, I'm just like, oh my God, please protect yourself. I think around 90% of all skin cancers are sun exposure related, and skin cancers such as melanoma can take lives. Specifically, some fast-growing melanomas can kill within 3 to 6 months of diagnosis, which is why it is so important to have regular mole checks and to get any suspicious lesions checked out. Specifically, look for the ABCDs and then the EFGs. Is the lesion asymmetrical? If you cut it in half and folded it over, does it look the same? Is the border normal or is it irregular? Is the color different or changing? Is the diameter bigger than a pencil eraser? And then, because you are a savvy skintellectual, we also have the EFGs. Is it elevated? Is it firm or does it feel squishy and floppy? And is it growing or changing? Just having these things checked can literally save lives and can help people get a punch biopsy or a mole removal before it turns into something deeper or before it spreads from just the skin into other areas of the body, such as the lymph nodes, which is when it becomes systemic. I also have a personal skin cancer scare, which is why I think I am reacting so empathetically and emotionally to what I see Brittney doing, because I've had so many moments like this in the sun. I don't fear the sun, I just enjoy it responsibly. But unfortunately, one of the moles that I've had since I was a child is starting to change. It is becoming more elevated, it is growing, it does look a little funky. And when I look at it under a dermatoscope and when I look at it with some of the people that I work with, doesn't seem like it's a huge concern, but because of avoiding conflict of interest, I have to go get this checked out by a board certified dermatologist as a patient and see, do we need to remove this? Is there something concerning here? And this little mole that I've always had on my side for my entire life, is it something cancerous or more nefarious that I need to be concerned about? So that's actually something I'm really worried about. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not excited. And knowing that even just one major sunburn in your life can lead to skin cancer, again, I'm going to share some of the worst burns that I've gotten. Even though I was the freaking kid whose mom dressed up like Barney at the beach in my sun protective UPF swimsuit, I still got burns. I still have made mistakes. And unfortunately, even one of those mistakes can cost me. Again, when it comes to what my mom used to dress us up in, I resented and hated my mom so much for this. You have no idea how bad I was teased. And then when I grew out of the UPF Barney swimsuit, I got acne. Like, bro, it just didn't stop. But back to the science of sunburns and exactly why some people start to peel and not others. You see, when the sun damages the skin, this DNA gets damaged and these cells start to mutate or can become cancerous. Your smart ass body got a lot of work to do and it says, hey, something's not right here. Like, this is sus and we're gonna get rid of it. And that's what the peeling or the sloughing off actually is. It is dead skin cells being forced off of and away from your body. It's a specific process called apoptosis or programmed cell death. And it's when your cells literally unalive themselves because they're like, oh shit. If we continue to replicate, our DNA has been damaged. If we mutate, we are going to become cancerous. We gotta get rid of ourselves and move the fuck on. And fun fact, the word apoptosis actually means falling off. It comes from a Greek word about leaves falling off of a tree, which I found out and I was like, that is very, very cool. And even though our bodies are magnificent and they're going through this process all the time, it's not something that we want them to do more than they have to. Now, noting that that's what causes this peeling and this burning, why does this happen to some people but not others? Well, in order to understand that, we have to understand the Fitzpatrick photosensitivity type, or the Fitzpatrick scale. There was a doctor, Dr. Fitzpatrick, who originally put this together, and he looked at people's genetic backgrounds, their hair, eye color, and skin color, and how their skin responded to light or to trauma, to see if it was sensitive and if it got burnt, or if it tended to hyperpigment, if it tended to be more discolored, or to react a bit more unevenly. There are 6 different Fitzpatrick photosensitivity types, and I would recommend that you either pause the video or you screenshot this so you can actually see. But based on someone's eye color, someone's hair color, and how their skin reacts to light, those factors help us understand where people on this scale fall. And when we're looking at doing something like a chemical peel or another skincare treatment, we have to look at someone's Fitzpatrick photosensitivity type so that we can see, is their skin going to respond to this treatment well based on historical data. Usually, people who are a 4, 5, or 6 tend to have more issues with hyperpigmentation and even keloid scarring. So you really want to build up with any acids to a chemical peel, and you have to be a little bit more careful with acids. Whereas Fitzpatrick types 1, 2, and 3 tend to be more erythemic. Basically, they have more erythema or redness in the skin, and they may be able to handle things such as chemical peels or acids more, but they tend to burn faster when they're in the sun. Every single skin type and color can get skin cancer, but there are some people who are more prone to burning and some people who are less prone to burning and are more prone to tanning. And that's when we talk about our beautiful skin cells, specifically melanocytes. Melanocytes are broken down, melano and cyte, melano relating to melanin or skin pigment, and cyte meaning cell. So these are skin pigment producing cells. And a lot of people think that Fitzpatrick types 4, 5, or 6, black and ebony skin, has more melanocytes, and that Fitzpatrick types 1, 2, or 3 who have more ivory skin have less melanocytes. And that's not actually true. Almost all humans have the same amount of melanocytes in their skin. The difference is how much melanin they produce, because some are more active than others. There's also different types of melanin. There's eumelanin, pheomelanin, and even neuromelanin. That's found in our brain. But the main ones that relate to what color our skin ends up being are the pheomelanin and the eumelanin. The eumelanin is normally found in skin types that are ebony and black, and the pheomelanin is normally found in more ivory skin tones. When the sun hits our skin, remember that's a form of damage. You have these UV rays, these radical oxygen species, and this damage coming in, damaging skin cells. Well, the skin's natural inclination is to protect itself, and melanin, this literal pigment, is what allows the skin to do that. These cells, melanocytes, start pumping out the melanin, and they go over to the keratinocytes, the keratin regular skin protein cells, and basically say, hey, I'm gonna protect you, buddy. Literally sits on top of the little keratinocyte, kind of like an umbrella or a hug, and actually protects it from that UV damage. And that's why if you actually look at sociology and you take people's average skin color and overlay it by the equator, you actually see that people by the equator tend to have darker skin, and it gets lighter as you move farther away from that equator and towards the poles. This is a really cool anthropologic way to look at our society, to look at the beauty of our skin color and where it comes from, and how this specific biological mechanism of our skin trying to protect itself from the sun leads to the color of our skin or how it changes, tans, or burns when it comes into contact with the sun. Now, all skin produces melanin, but as mentioned, some tends to burn or peel more than others. If you look at people who have black or ebony skin, they naturally have like an SPF of around 13. That doesn't mean that people can skip sunscreen, but when you compare that to someone who has a Fitzpatrick type 1 or 2, they have maybe a natural SPF of 3 or 5. That means that a person with this skin tone is going to burn 3 to 5 times faster than somebody who has this skin tone. And yes, black ebony skin can absolutely burn and peel. It's just less likely because it takes more intense sun exposure for longer periods of time when comparing that to a Fitzpatrick type 1, 2, or 3. And while all skin can burn and can peel, there are different severities, specifically 1st degree, 2nd degree, or 3rd degree burns. You may have heard of these before, and unfortunately some of them can be very, very intense and life-changing, if not life-ending. Specifically 3rd degree burns that go down to the bone, the muscle, absolutely painful and devastating for those who suffer from them. Now, when it comes to sunburns, most sunburns are a 1st degree burn, basically this redness of the skin and this irritation. But unfortunately, some sunburns can become 2nd degree. We can see this happening whenever the skin blisters. And the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 is that type 2 means that the damage is actually going down all the way through the epidermis, or the top layers of skin, all the way into the dermis, the deeper layers of skin. And if you remember back to our skin anatomy, we have all of these different beautiful layers that make up our skin. The epidermis literally breaks down into meaning the top skin and is made up of those 5 layers. And the dermis is much bigger and much thicker, but that's the deeper skin. And the dermis is where our collagen and elastin is. Unfortunately, UVA rays can penetrate into the skin deeper, and of course that's where they damage the collagen and elastin. And the UVB rays really love to burn the top of the skin, the epidermis. But especially when both are combined together, it can be so painful, so damaging, and yes, skin cancer causing. And if the skin cancer enough doesn't scare you, maybe some of these videos on TikTok that we've featured in other videos will, but maybe the aesthetic things are what people need to hear about in order to take this stuff seriously, because yes, it can cause premature fine lines, wrinkles, skin laxity, dullness, sagging, etc. And if we can avoid that, we want to. And I get so passionate about this because yes, I have been burned. Yes, I have a skin cancer scare. Skin cancer has happened to people in my family, including my grandmother, who's really struggling right now. She's got a lot of precancerous growths that at this time, because of where she is at with her Alzheimer's, we are not removing or treating. But you deserve to take care of your skin. And like, babes, do you need to hear that today? You are worth being taken care of. You are worth doing wonderful things for your beauty and your body, and taking care of yourself in the sun and enjoying the sun responsibly on hikes or at the ocean or out with friends at an amusement park. It is so essential. And it's something that I wish there was more education around, or I wish that someone could tell to younger me who, yes, rebelled against the Barney swimsuit and ended up getting some really gnarly sunburns. But for Brittney, who I see having such a great time and then feeling this little pain in my heart, what would I recommend? There are actually 3 different body sunscreens that I think are amazing that everyone should either have on hand or just know about. And of course, this comes with a disclaimer that the best sunscreen for you is the one that you're gonna freaking use. Whichever one that is, that's the one. But if you're looking for inexpensive recommendations or ones that are better for sensitive skin versus ones that are easy to apply while on the go, this is what I'd say. The first one is one that I don't actually have in front of me because I'm all out of it, but it is the UV Arrow. This is literally a spray sunscreen that is super easy to rub in and wonderful if you are on the go. This is a broad spectrum SPF 45, and that word broad spectrum means it protects against the UVA and UVB rays. This one isn't super travel friendly though, so I don't know if Brittney's just frolicking at the beach or if she got on a plane, but if you're trying to travel on a plane, this might not be the best bet. But something that would be is actually this from Trader Joe's or Supergoop. Now, I actually recommend the Supergoop, especially if you're acne prone. Unfortunately, the Trader Joe's one kind of broke me out, but Trader Joe's recently created this. It's the Daily Facial Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF 40. It is so similar to the Supergoop, and because this entire tube is only $10, you can buy 5 or 10 of them and take them on a plane and put them on your body. This one also comes out, again, kind of like a loogie. Like, it kind of feels like a petrolatum-based product because it's really, really silky on the skin. This definitely has like a thicker feel to it, and then it kind of blends in and kind of blends down into something feathery. But this is wonderful and inexpensive if you're looking to protect large areas of the body and you're like I don't want to spend too much money, and I don't got time to rub the shit in. Like, it literally comes out clear and it is amazing. Supergoop also has the gallon sunscreen. If you're a swimmer like that guy that we reacted to, or if you are someone who is constantly going through it, get the gallon size. That is gonna save you a lot of money in the long run, honey. And the one that I would personally recommend for Brittney and that I love and think is amazing is the one from Dr. Sam's. This one is the Body Mineral UV. This is an SPF 50. It is water resistant because there is no such thing as a waterproof sunscreen. And this is 6.8 fluid ounces, 200 milliliters. So you get a lot of product for the money. What's also great about this is that because it is a completely mineral formula, it is wonderful for sensitive skin. So if you are someone who literally already has a sunburn and everything hurts, if you are someone who just doesn't get along with sunscreen and it irritates or itches your skin, this one is mineral, it is beautiful, it doesn't tend to cake or pill up the way a lot of other ones do. And this one blends in pretty flawlessly. If you are a Fitzpatrick type 6, I don't know how this will work on you because I haven't tested it on a Fitzpatrick type 6, but this is a completely mineral sunscreen that has shea butter and squalane and soaks in so beautifully. It's also made by Dr. Sam Bunting. She is a derm from the UK. She has a YouTube channel. She is wonderful. And I love that this is a female-founded, vegan and cruelty-free brand that I can recommend. And all of these are wonderful, but even if you don't go with these, please take care of yourself. Remember that you're worth it. And when I look at Brittney, I love that she's having such a great time. I love that she doesn't look like she's physically in pain, but I know what kind of physical pain this can cause. And if you want to know how to treat a sunburn because something like this happened, we've actually done videos on it. The difference between first and second degree burns and what to do. For instance, you should take Advil or ibuprofen, but you should not be putting on heavy moisturizers. Does that seem counterintuitive? You don't want to heavily moisturize this, but you do want to lightly base water or glycerin moisturize this. You do want to cold compress, but you do not want to exfoliate. All of those details are in this video, which is literally the video that I wish I had had when I got some of my worst burns. I've had some bad ones. We're talking the shoulders, we're talking the bikini top. Literally, these are some of the most painful skin things that I've ever had happen to me. And it sucks to admit this as someone who literally works in the medical aesthetic industry and helps educate people on this, as well as someone who grew up with a mom who was a sunscreen crazy lady and literally put me in the Barney suit. We all make mistakes. We have to learn somewhere, and I, your acne big sister, have made many mistakes and learned along the way. And when I see things like this happening to Brittney, I wish I could give her a hug. Actually, I wouldn't give her a hug because that would be fucking painful because of this. But I wish that we could stop the peeling, cold compress it, and get her some sunscreens that actually work. And because she is a celebrity with such massive amounts of influence, and knowing that she has had bad sunburns before, hopefully if she could find something that she absolutely falls in love with, she would actually want to speak about that experience, get her mole checks, maybe speak about that online, and help other people understand the dangers of sun exposure and how to enjoy the sun responsibly. You are my little sunshines, my beautiful butterflies. I absolutely love you, and I cannot wait to see you in the meme at the end of this video. I will let you know how my skin cancer scare goes. Again, looks like nothing, but I cannot diagnose, and that is not for me to do. And I'm going to get it diagnosed by a derm as a patient and see what the fuck is going on and let you know. I love you, beautiful butterfly sunshine rays, so much. I hope that you stay protected, stay hydrated both orally and topically, and I cannot wait to see you in this video where we talk about taking care of a sunburn. Love you guys. Bye.